Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture. The wonderful wallpaper is back, and today I'm going to tell you all about the phenomenal one returning to Impact Wrestling, sort of. And I'm also going to tell you about the former WWE Women's Champion who is heading to Impact Wrestling.
Plus how WWE tried to sign Ricky Starks from under AEW's nose, and some interesting trademarks have been filed by WWE. This is the news.
Let's kick things off by talking about this phenomenal one in Impact Wrestling then. This is something else. It's our second Hornswoggle story of the week. What the hell? So in recent weeks, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, the Good Brothers, had been teasing a phenomenal one. A phenomenal opponent would be arriving to face their rivals, the North. The stipulation was that if Ethan Page of the North could overcome this phenomenal opponent, they would get a shot at the Good Brothers Tag Team Championships. This came to a head last night. The phenomenal one was introduced, and AJ Styles' old TNA theme song hit the PA system. Somebody dressed like AJ Styles doing his ring entrance, and everything came out. But yes, it was Hornswoggle. He was introduced as, and I quote, the nominal one, CJ Swoggle. Okay, he then had the match with Ethan Page. Obviously, Page was like, it's a Hornswoggle. I'm obviously going to beat this dude. But no, he lost. There was a kerfuffle, a commotion on the outside. Josh Alexander was brawling with Carl Anderson. Hornswoggle got the roll up. No tag team title shot for you, the North. However, Hornswoggle is AJ Styles now, apparently. What a weird situation. What a weird turn of events. Impact Wrestling has hit some real big home runs recently. This was an interesting left turn. But, it goes to show that the promotion's doing a lot of stuff that a lot of people are talking about, regardless of what you may think of like an AJ Styles ruse. I mean, to be fair, right? If you fell for the idea that AJ Styles was actually going to show up in Impact Wrestling, you got worked. You got worked because the guy's under WWE contract for like 400 million years or whatever until he retires. It's going to be his last wrestling contract. But, we find ourselves talking more and more about Impact Wrestling every single week because they bring newsworthy stuff to the forefront. They're getting people talking about their product, and that can only be a good thing, even when the thing that gets you talking about that product is the wee nominal one. Indeed.
I like the fact that people would actually buy. No, you can't do any Twitch stuff, but if you want to appear in a completely rival promotion to WWE, yeah, absolutely fine. No bother. Go knock yourself out. And I suppose it could be worse. They could have advertised a McMahon on Impact Wrestling with the Good Brothers, so maybe that's
like
next week.
we did on the news last week.
Yeah, exactly. Come on. I unsurprisingly loved this. Thought it was great. And great to see friend of the channel, Hornswoggle, just doing so much stuff. Good for him. This sneaky little bastards. There's not much more I can say about all this, but I'm glad to see Impact Wrestling getting a lot more attention and exposure, as you said there, Andy. And obviously Simon now does ups and downs for it, and they've got some mad storylines with whodunits and stuff going on. Got slightly concerned when I heard rumours of that guy being backstage again with holding the pen, but until those reports are confirmed, I'm gonna hold my breath. So let's hope for the best. Adam Wilborn. What a right, let's continue by talking about Ricky Starks. What a handsome bastard that guy is. Speaking of handsome bastards, though, he did an interview with friend of the channel, Chris Van Vliet, well worth checking out over on Chris Van Vliet's YouTube channel right now, and talked about the day he appeared for All Elite Wrestling to answer Cody's TNT Championship Open Challenge. And Andy Murray, you'll never guess what. That was the day WWE decided to get their act together and, offer him a deal. What a coincidence! He's quoted as saying, the funny thing is, the day I wrestled Cody, I got a phone call from WWE saying, hey, we've been watching you and we wanted to bring you in. And apparently Stark said, oh, really? Okay. Interesting, of all days. This, of course, hot on the heels of WWE just randomly deciding, should we sign Eddie Kingston? Yeah. Immediately after his match with Cody. I mean, it's fairly obvious what's going on here, Andy.
Yeah, it kind of takes the piss a little bit, doesn't it? Ricky also said that he entertained the conversation, but his mind was pretty much already made up as to what he was going to do. Yeah, I mean, if WWE had like a legitimate interest in signing Ricky Starks, and they should, because Ricky Starks is excellent, and as you said, very handsome, they would have reached out to him a while ago. It's not like this guy was this secret, hidden gem or anything. The guy had been on NWA Power for months and months and months before he showed up. And before that, he had a good rep, particularly on like the Texan indie scene. So if you're WWE, if you have all these resources in this massive scouting department, there's no way he wouldn't have already been on your radar. But if you were interested, would you have waited until the day he was going to debut against Cody on Dynamite? They know what they're doing. They know exactly.
I'm sorry. I've just got to move my screen up a little bit here because I've got an image from the interview of these two, and it's far too distracting. I need to pour a bucket of cold water on myself when I watch that interview. I want to know if I can join the handsome men gang with my new mustache. Let me know, Chris. Let me know, Ricky. And I expect a resounding no, Andy.
I was going to say, with all due respect to yourself, I think that the two of us together, our mugs on one video is basically the polar opposite.
Yeah,
of Ricky
exactly.
Starks and Chris Van Vliet, two of the most 12 out of 10 men in the history of 12 out of 10 men. Let's move over to Impact again. We're talking more Impact, baby. That's because a former WWE Women's Champion is on her way to the promotion. I'm talking about Jazz, who actually retired from pro wrestling in October, but she's coming back, presumably for this Impact Wrestling Knockouts Tag Team Championship Tournament. It is ongoing. It was announced last night she's going to be teaming with Jordynne Grace. That's a hell of a goddamn team, past and present, coming together to bash some people up. Interestingly, their opponents in the first round are actually two former WWE wrestlers as well. They're going to be facing Killer Kelly, who was released from WWE earlier this year, very quietly, formerly of NXT UK, and Renee Michelle, who you remember from her role opposite her husband, Drake Maverick, in those wacky consummate the marriage 24/7 things last year.
Back when it was prestigious, that belt.
Back when it was prestigious and before R-Truth became a 45-time champion. If they're successful in their first round match, Jazz and Grace are going to face Havoc and Nevaeh. That'll be the second round. The finals come after that. Good to see Jazz back in pro wrestling. Her last gig was the NWA. Her last major gig was the NWA. She was women's champion for something like 3 years, 2016 to 2019, lost it earlier this year. She kind of was prominent there before Power was a thing, so she didn't really have the benefit of competing on that every week, which would have been cool. But let's not forget as well, she had that role in the what's it called? The Casino Battle Royale. The Women's Casino Battle Royale at AEW All Out 2019 as well. So looking forward to seeing Jazz mixing it up with some stars of today. Her and Grace is really a fun tag team, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that works.
Really excited to see how that one works out. Big fan of Jazz's, loved her back in the day, and we've seen on many, many occasions, and the name Gail Kim just automatically leaps into our head about people who WWE just didn't really utilise very well, and then went on to do sensational stuff in Impact Wrestling. So fingers crossed. She can do well there. Don't know how it's going to work out in the long term, but like you say, fascinated to see how it works out between Jazz and Jordynne Grace as a team. Let's move on to our final story of the day, considering WWE's trademarks. I know what you're thinking, that sounds a bit dull.
Before we do that, Adam, I just want to prepare myself a little bit.
Very good idea. Well, WWE filed a couple of high-profile trademark applications recently. In October, for example, they filed a trademark application for C-Nation for John Cena. But more recently, WWE filed another trademark for Dean Ambrose. Because, of course, Dean Ambrose leaving WWE is a work. He's been AEW World Champion once. He's been working for WWE. Think these things through. You think Jon Moxley just happened to show up in AEW? Agent Ambrose is in full effect. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know why they filed this trademark, if I'm perfectly honest. They previously cancelled it back in August. Moxley hasn't commented on the situation, but this is ridiculous. You assume this is just due to the history of Dean Ambrose. Yeah. I don't think we're going to get them coming out. Although I wouldn't rule it out saying, good news, guys, Dean Ambrose is coming back. And then they just get Drake Maverick to play him on Monday Night Raw or something. But weird this, refiling of a trademark of Dean Ambrose. Unless, of course, I've been right all along. And he did pop up on, what was it, Backstage? He showed up on recently, or not recently, this year.
Yeah, he had a little cameo. Just in Renee Young's background. Renee Paquette's background, my apologies. I mean, it's probably just, this thing is just, don't wear foil on your head. It will cook your big bald dome. Jesus Christ, I'm sweating. I imagine this is just so they don't get sued out the ass when they do things about Dean Ambrose and the Shield and stuff, maybe, I don't know. But let's just go with the idea that it's a work. Let's suggest that fake Dean Ambrose and fake Rusev are going to show up in the NXT zone next week. Bring back fake Diesel and Razor Ramon, man.
Or with the recent news, congratulations again to them, of Renee Paquette being pregnant, they're thinking, well, better get those trademarks in early for Dean Ambrose and Dean Ambrose Jr.
Oh, brother.
Let's move on to your Twitter questions. At WhatCulture WWE, of course, want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Mark Stoddard, who says, Morning Legends, thoughts on Daniel Bryan forming a stable to take on the Bloodline? You know, he'll push to feature underutilized guys. Who would you like to see join with Bryan? And maybe even a heel to get the rub of turning on him. What do you reckon to that, Andy?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. So one of the great triumphs of like faction-based wrestling promotions like New Japan, like Dragon Gate, like AEW as well, is that when you have these factions and these associates of people who all have these interlocking relationships, when you have a feud like Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns, it means you have all manner of interesting match possibilities coming out of that. If you look at AEW at the moment, the core feud is Pac versus Eddie Kingston, but you got the Butcher and the Blade, you got Phoenix and Pentagon as well. So many combinations you can do without having to burn the money match at the very first step. So yes, I think it's a very good idea, and I think pairing Daniel Bryan with underutilized, whatever wrestlers in WWE is a really good idea, because Daniel Bryan was the ultimate version of that at one point. Chad Gable would be my pick.
Yes.
Throw him in there. You know, you had the American Alpha attire at the pay-per-view last weekend. He was looking sick. He's awesome. I think he'd be a good pick.
Yeah, there's like obvious ones you'd go for. I think like you got to try and balance it out if you think about the Bloodline. So you could have, you know, Roman and Daniel Bryan sort of clashing. You could have the Usos clashing with Chad Gable and Ricochet. I think that'd make a damn fine team. Or if you want to just go balls to the wall, hoist Samoa Joe in there, and then Samoa Joe even. Samoa Joe is Roman Reigns. Hoist Samoa Joe in there, and we can just have some big beefy men slapping meat. Okay, second question today comes from Jake King, who says, with the triple threat set for next week's Raw, who are you picking? I'm going with Riddle. He won't beat Drew, but imagine the match. Also, good dog Harvey. Jake has sent us a picture of his lovely dog Harvey there. And he said, granted, this is if Braun doesn't ruin it. Yeah, I'm not holding my breath for whatever's happening now. He reported that Braun, although he's been suspended indefinitely, I'm concerned. But who do you want to see win that triple threat next week?
Yeah, man, they're really lining up the opposition for Drew at the moment as well. There's the Sheamus thing as well lurking in the background too. I think Riddle will win it. It just feels like the way they're engineering him lately seems to be presenting him as a guy who's going to have a little bit of a spotlight coming right up. I would love to see Keith Lee get it, just because he's a really nice, wholesome dude, and I think that'd be, you know, Drew's another really nice, wholesome dude himself, so good people doing good things. Big fan of that. You know, Riddle would be a good opponent for Drew McIntyre. He's a guy you could have him beat, you know, on television if they're not going to do it at the pay-per-view. I think that's the way they'll go. Yeah,
I think all three of them would be great. Big George in AJ Styles' corner.
Riddle. Sorry. His name is Omos.
No, he's not. His name is Big George. I think Riddle, is a good. I think Keith Lee. I think if they're going to ruin it and not actually give us a finish to the match, which is probably what's going to happen with Get Big Head, I'm going to say Keith Lee. Because I'd like to see that match, and they keep teasing us with it, and I sense another tease would be, we've got the match. Oh, bloody hell, Braun's ruined it again, and then we'd actually get it at a future pay-per-view or some sort of mad chamber moment. I don't know. Who knows? Final question today comes from Daniel Murphy, who says, just got my signed copy of Killing the Business, the Young Bucks biography, of course. Can't wait to read it. What is your favourite piece of wrestling memorabilia? Oh, wow. I also have a Rey Mysterio's auto and a piece of the ring from SmackDown where Lesnar and Big Show went through the ring. Quite a collection.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, I'm not much of a collector. I kind of just, I don't like having, the only thing I collect, right, is these things, right? Record shout-outs to Jay, by the way. This is great. But like physical stuff, I don't really, have a lot. I've got these like little. It's Roman Reigns and The Rock, the real bloodline. I've got a couple of books and stuff. I've got this. This actually is really great, and you should read it if you have some dollars lying around. The Ken Shamrock book that came out this year. That's a really crap answer compared to a piece of the bloody ring that the Big Show went through, but that's all I've got.
We ain't going to top that. I think the best things we've got are those cool action figures that people have sent us over the years after we started highlighting the crap knockoff WWE action figures. My favourite piece of memorabilia, it's probably just because it's got a nice memory associated with it. It's not that spectacular. Bob Backlund's autobiography that I got signed. I had to get signed because I had to buy it off him and get it signed before he would let me interview him over WrestleMania weekend. And then he did the most bonkers interview for about 2 minutes and then left. And then later on, Miller bumped into him and he was doing some sort of workout. It was surreal. But anyway, let us know in the comments or on Twitter at WhatCulture the most random piece of wrestling memorabilia you've got, and we'll feature some of the best ones tomorrow. And we'll wrap up with today's and finally with this photo of The Undertaker and Brother Love switching roles, which Andy Murray hurts my brain.
Yeah, this caused a little bit of my grey matter to dribble out of one of my massive ears this morning. So that wasn't pleasant. Thank you for showing me it.
I've never seen Taker look that happy before. But anyway, let us know your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and the Daddy Boys sitting down to preview the Wednesday Night War later on today. Plus, let us know your thoughts, Twitter questions, and of course, your weird wrestling memorabilia on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Or actually, there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at Andy H. Murray, and usually I save the H stands for like a happy birthday, and it's like a nice jokey thing. But today would have been the birthday of Connor the Crusher, who of course tragically passed away when he was just 8 years old. So, I think it makes sense to mention that, and like one of just the most devastating, gut-wrenching, heartbreaking situations in pro wrestling history. The kid got to live his dream before he passed away, which is tremendous, but it's a horrible situation for all involved. His charity, the charity that was set up in his name, Connor's Cure, raises funds for pediatric cancer and so forth. Still ongoing. If you've got a spare dollar in your pocket today and you're wondering how to spend it, throw a donation that way. It's a great cause, and really, really horrible. So rest in peace once again, Connor the Crusher. But if you can afford a little donation today, if you want to make something, check them out. It's a worthwhile cause. Absolutely, give what you can. What a legend he was. Right, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.